Welcome everyone to the Mod Golf Podcast video edition on YouTube. So I just finished up a really engaging conversation with David Grieshaber, who is, God, he wears so many hats, is where to start. But what we're going to focus on mainly today here is he is the Chief Information Officer with Gamerz Golf, and I'll let him explain what Gamerz is in a minute here. But we're also going to talk about how design, not only physical design, but experiential design informs not only business, but also the built environment, especially as that relates to golf entertainment facilities. So with that, David, hey, welcome back to the Mod Golf Podcast.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be back in person this time. Hello. So as Colin said, yes, I am the CIO of Gamerz Golf, and that is Chief Information Officer. Mainly in charge of the technology throughout the whole design process, build operation of golf entertainment centers. That includes everything from the technology behind the poles, the nets, the AstroTurf, the lighting systems, computer systems, the green aspects, everything in the actual building and everything in between.
Nice. So, as I mentioned on our extended conversation on the podcast, and down below, you'll be able to, after you finish up with the video here, all of our viewers, you can become a listener and catch that conversation that we had. And in that conversation, David just shares his unbelievable experience in the golf entertainment space that really is driven and built on the platform and the foundation of his work in Silicon Valley with other successful tech exits. And great conversation there, but we're not going to cover that because otherwise why would you bother going to listen to that? So today, right now, we are going to focus on starting with this. So let's talk about design. Let's talk about design thinking. Let's talk about your venues with Gamerz Golf. We did talk about Topgolf a lot on the podcast earlier. So talk to us, David, as far as you build your first one in Tacoma, Washington, under construction right now. How are you and the team creating an even more compelling, more engaging experience, both with software, with experience, and also with the physical environment at Gamerz Golf?
Well, let's start with the physical environment. The physical environment, in essence, is a concrete floor with steel girder building. That is not going to change in any one of these golf entertainment centers. So if it's Topgolf, if it's Golf Suites, if it's Drive Shack or Big Shots, any of them all start with that. What's going to be different is the amenities within it and the actual facade and the FF&E within the actual building. So the furnishing and fixtures and electrical throughout the actual building. That's going to be the differentiators. And so when I looked at this from the beginning, the one thing I really wanted to do compared to our competitor was, how do we make this as green as possible? I want to have a carbon neutral actual building and be as least impactful as possible, because the game of golf is all about green. It's green, it's green, it's green. So green in another sense would be, let's make this green and carbon neutral as well. So the goal that we have put out for ourselves at Gamerz Golf is, how do we make this carbon neutral and use as many recycled products as possible, utilize solar, utilize next generation technologies such as the Tesla infrastructure for charging your cars in our parking lot, and how do we take recycled materials that we can find locally and convert them into tabletops throughout the actual venue. In every little aspect, every detail we've looked at, everything from how do we utilize 80% less electric than our competitors. So when you walk into a bay or walk into our venue, all the monitors won't be on. When you walk past them and you step into a bay, that bay turns on at that point using a sensor and turns on all the electrical equipment. It adds life to the equipment for longevity and life cycle management, but it also saves in power as well. So we won't be super bright and lit up like our competitor, but we will be saving probably 80% over their electric bill.
Wow, that's just good for business then, with sustainability. And my background in architecture as a lead accredited design professional, and I certainly know that all the points that they have for these different categories to make the building, whether it's a LEED Platinum building or a gold building or a silver building, that light pollution is one of the ones that a point is offered for. And I know with, I'm going to name them, with Topgolf, part of the environmental impact issues that they've had is, because of course they're most active at night, is having those tall poles with lights on them and the light pollution that it emits. So what is your solution in order to kind of mitigate or reduce that aspect?
Well, I'm glad you brought that out, because when you look at a lot of the early golf entertainment centers, they're all using a white golf ball. The problem is at night, when you have a golf ball to light up so a person can see from the bay, if the bays are here and the golf ball is going this direction, you have to have lights that are fired in this direction or up, so it lights up the bottom of the golf ball so you can see the ball flying through the air. If not, it flies into black void and you don't even see it anymore. So this has caused driving ranges to have to go and light up the whole thing, sometimes as bright as daylight at these venues. Our goal is a little bit different. We're going to use a glow-in-the-dark golf ball, and we're going to light the golf ball as it comes up off the automated tee system. So when the ball comes up at night, it's a glowing nucleus. You'll be able to hit the golf ball, it flies through the air. You'll see the streak of the ball flying through the air and land on the target, and you'll see it roll out. You'll get your points at that point. But what this allows us to do is we don't have to light the golf ball from underneath. We are taking and creating a ring of LEDs around the target, around the cup, and we're up firing these lights, these LED lights, which will go up maybe 75 feet, but still within the confines of the actual nets. So that'll allow us to have a dark playing field with super bright colors, and it'll make it look like you're in a video game instead of playing in a golf driving range at daylight.
Nice. Okay, just a disclaimer for all the viewers here. David had no idea I was going to ask that question. Honestly, that is not the case. But the fact you had props ready and primed is like you came prepared, sir. You brought it. Love that. So let's talk about the software side, or even the experiential side of design. Walk us through that. Let's say Gamerz Golf was open today and I was there as a patron. What would my experience be like? I've been to lots of Topgolfs, of course. I've worked with them in the past as a design consultant. So what would your experience, how do you see the experience would be heightened just as far as the interactivity, the social aspect, all the things? So can you walk us through that experiential journey and all the touch points that I'd have from the time I arrived at Gamerz Golf to the time that I leave?
No, I can't, because that would be giving away a little bit too much.
That's okay. I love the fact that you're answering. So stay tuned. We'll obviously get back on this to cover that when you open up. So
that is correct. It is definitely going to be something rather unique. Again, with the whole green and social impact of this, it's going towards a different type of clientele as well. Perfect example is the way we looked at this with the food. When we started with the food, we evaluated Topgolf's food. We went to many of their venues. We've looked at the wait times. We've looked at the heating issues and the service times and everything and the quality of the food, and asked ourselves, how is this chef driven? We didn't understand. So we looked at the food aspect and said, we are going to take this and give near Michelin star quality food, but delivered within 10 minutes of your game starting. And it'll always be warm or always be cold if it's deemed to be that way. It won't be delivered 40 minutes into your game and soggy, which has been my experience and several other people's experience at a Topgolf. Mm-hmm. So we've looked at all the service aspects and how can we improve the quality of service. There won't be 3-hour lines on a Friday night for people waiting. Stanford did a study several years ago that said, after an hour of someone waiting outside of a nightclub in a line, they get impatient and they start losing revenue at that point. People start walking away. So our goal was, how do we make the venue more efficient, the sign-up process more efficient, the reservation system more efficient? So we studied Korea's Incheon Airport, which has won 10 years in a row as the most efficient airport in the world on how to move people through this venue. Of course, we want them to be there for up to an hour and buy food and drinks before they go into the bay. That just added revenue. But at that hour point, how do we get them into an actual bay and playing the game? Because then once they're finished with their game, we want them to stick around for another half an hour or an hour, instead of being frustrated saying, I've been here 4 hours, I played my game, I'm out of here. The pay per person will increase at that point if they actually have a wonderful social experience and a wonderful time managed experience, to when they walk out of the venue, they go, wow, that's something I could do again and want to do again.
Love it. Love that. Now, you and I met. I found you on LinkedIn when you had reposted an ARC Daily article on design, golf facility design, and the value of that. So I just want to talk to you about that a little bit, about design, to expand on what you're doing at Gamerz Golf. But and I know you already covered that, but you've created a bit of a test kitchen. And that test kitchen is your own home in Seattle, which you send the link to the website, which will include some images here. And I was blown away. So you can tell me a bit about your passion for design and the sustainability overlay with that, and what you've learned there and how that helps inform even more what you're then infusing into Gamerz Golf.
I think that we are on a finite resource collision issue in the world that's going to have to be dealt with. And the quicker we can deal with this issue, the better. Resources are limited, and we're going to bash our heads into it very shortly. That has led my interest into how can we take existing structures or large resources that are just sitting around or haven't been utilized or are being scrapped, and utilize those to build luxury houses that are dollar for dollar the same cost to build for square foot, but have a lifetime of 200, 300, 400 years, instead of the current generation of houses that are being built for 30 to 50 years with mass development. That led me to trying to acquire 750 tons of the San Francisco Bay Bridge as it was being deconstructed to build a 19,000 square foot commercial and residential space out of. We did a wonderful study and then did a promotional test and contest, and we were trying to get designs from all over the world, and we ended up with some of the best student architects in the world submitting projects to our contest for this house made out of recycled steel from a 70-year-old bridge. And
the house is amazing. And being a design guy, architect myself, just going on the website and taking the virtual tour, it is amazing. It's, hopefully one day after this COVID thing, I can get across the border. I'm in Vancouver, you're in Seattle here, that we can get on the golf course, play around, and maybe if I'm nice enough and you still want to hang around me, you'll invite me back for a tour of your fabulous house there, David.
Thank you. The house in Seattle is an eco-sustainable house, and it's the direction that our family wants to move in, and many families that I've met. And the next house that we build is going to be something of architectural significance.
So you're going in a step in the right direction, and the golf industry is going in the right direction, has a long way to go, both for off-course and off-course facilities. We can talk for another hour here about, having 150, 170 acres of a golf course and the amount of energy and resources and water, fertilizer and maintenance that it takes to maintain a course and to keep it that green and that pristine look, rather than just letting some areas just go wild and go natural. So looks like we'll have to jump on another YouTube interview and talk about that a little bit later, David. So why don't we just wrap it up there for now, even though I have it, like I'm bursting with all these other questions, but that will once again give us a reason to do a follow-up with you, to have another conversation once Gamerz Golf opens up. So before we do leave here, David, why don't you tell our viewers here where they can go to find out more about Gamerz Golf?
And you can find us on Facebook to keep up with our construction of our venue. It's under Gamerz Golf, and you can type in gamerz.golf on the World Wide Web.
Nice. And down below, after you subscribe to our YouTube channel here, of course, I'll have a link there to Gamerz Golf and also to the episode of the podcast that David and I also recorded. So with that, David, hey, thanks so much for joining me a second time today on the Mod Golf Podcast.
Thank you, Colin.